So you're ready to go. You need a home charger for your new EV. You've planned out the place to install it, and you're already enjoying not having to use public chargers. You're just going to plug in each night. It's really easy. But there are some things you really need to be aware of before you even buy your home charger. Ignoring any of them could prove costly in both money and safety. This is Dave Takes It On. I'm Dave with my top 5 mistakes I see all the time. Now, you already know just how fantastic home charging is. No more trips to the public chargers. You just plug in each night. No more range anxiety. You got a full battery every single day. And the price, that's the real killer, as it is so ridiculously cheap. Home charging is awesome, and getting your home charging setup is probably the most critical piece of the puzzle. It's supposed to make your life easier and save you money. So what can go wrong? Hey, tip number 5. First up, and this is probably the most common blunder, always start with your home. Yes, your home electricity supply is very unlikely to have been designed to be able to charge your EV. And some electrical installations cannot actually do that at all, and certainly not safely. The problem is many homes, especially older ones, are running on 60 amp panels. Others are fitted with actual fuses, and some are using a shared supply with their neighbour. Far more common than you might think. Now that's why your very first move should be to get an electrician in to test your whole house system and give you advice. Forget all that bravado. Oh, my house is nice and new. I've never had an issue. Besides, my neighbour's got a charger installed and my mate told me. You know the rest. You've just spent 20, 30 or £50,000 on an EV. Is it too much to ask to pay another £70 or £100 to get it professionally inspected and certified? At the very least, think about your home insurance. If an issue happens, they cannot refuse to pay up, claiming you ignored safety regulations or caused it by negligence. You have a certificate. But most important, you definitely do not want to endanger your family, possibly your own children or grandchildren. They are worth way more than £100. Tell your electrician what you're proposing, and they will advise you if the existing system is capable and safe. They may also have installed a large number of EV chargers and know a great deal more than you. Their advice at this point is free. By the way, if they tell you that your home's electrical system is unsafe and dangerous and needs a full rewire, go and get another quote. But if that tallies, if they both tally, that's what you need to get. This here is non-negotiable. Get a licensed electrician to do a home electrical assessment before you buy anything. They'll run what's called a load calculation to see how much power your consumer unit can spare. This one step tells you exactly what size charger your home can safely handle. They will also tell you how much power you can provide to the EV. And this is important before you buy your charger. There's no point in buying an 11 kilowatt 3-phase charger if your house will struggle to provide a constant 3 kilowatts. Tip number 4, check your EV maximum AC charging power. Now, in most cases, this is going to be 11 kilowatts. In some, it'll be 22, although others are down as low as 6. There's no point wasting money buying an all-singing, all-dancing 3-phase 22 kilowatt charger if your home will struggle with 7 kilowatts and your EV can only ever use 11 kilowatts. By the way, many 7 kilowatt chargers are already equipped to handle 3-phase, including the price, like the Tesla wall connector, while the popular Ohmi Pro is limited to single phase and 7.4 kilowatts. Now, it's easy to get carried away and think bigger is better, but often it isn't that easy. Your EV has an onboard charger and a battery management system that acts like a limiter. It decides the absolute maximum speed it can take from a home AC charger. Offer it too much, just ignores it, blocks it. The maximum charging speed is set in the factory, cannot be changed apart from slower. They simply cannot accept anything more. Well, tip number 3, it's the actual installation itself. Going back to those consumer units with fuses, your home charger is more than likely to reject it and just not work. Check out the Ohmie Pro spec sheet. It says it requires RCD Type A 30 milliamps with integral 6MA DC, built-in protective, PN fault detector. Yeah, your old fuse box is not going to have any of that. It also doesn't come with an overcurrent protector. Any ideas what it is, where to get one, how to install it? But even then, standards do change. My own installation completed when first installed 7 years ago, but it was upgraded due to certification changes. It required an update just a few years ago. Now, it's pretty certain you aren't up to date because I note that we're now on BS 7671, 18th edition. Keep up with that. Electrical codes exist for a reason, to keep your house from burning down. These rules cover everything: the exact gauge of the wire, the type of breaker, the outlet, and most places require a license of some sort for this kind of work, followed by an inspection. Trying to save money on an illegal DIY installation or using a non-certified electrician might be costly in the long run. Just think, your EV is maybe worth, 30 grand? Your home's several £100,000, and you're thinking of shortcuts and money-saving hacks? Need I say more? Get it professionally installed and get it recertified regularly. Well, tip number 2, smart or dumb. Now, many new EV owners got no idea this is a choice they have to make. Well, could make. Yes, ISO 15118 is there for you if needed, so what gives? Well, a standard 13-amp 3-pin plug socket in your home is a dumb supply. Takes in electricity from your home system, passes it through to the device. And it works because most devices are also dumb. They take in electricity, they just work. But your home charger need not be dumb. And your EV most definitely isn't dumb. In fact, it's an amazingly complex machine and is capable of doing far more than we could ever imagine. That's because the national grid is getting more intelligent. Same ISO 15118 looks into the future and it's designed to be able to operate intelligently. It can check the grid status and only charge when there's plenty of cheap electricity. It can schedule charging sessions when prices or demand are low, and so much more. An example is called for. You may have heard of bidirectional charging, V2H or V2G. This is where your EV can become a power supply for your home or trade electricity with the grid. In simple terms, in the event of a blackout, the huge car battery just takes over and your home carries on almost unaffected. Or go up a step and it can buy and sell electricity to the grid from the grid to make a profit. But to do that, you cannot just plug your EV into a standard socket. It's designed to operate with loads of safety kit, and the charger itself must be bidirectional. Yes, you need a charger. Finally, for V2G, you need a utility company that offers a tariff to do this. Now, for V2H, you still need a bidirectional charger, but also a current transformer to prevent feedback into the grid. Commando-style connections do not have the capability of running V2H or V2G. Once again, the EV must be capable, your charger must be bidirectional, and you also need a smart generator to prevent electricity being charged back into the grid, specifically when the grid is down and engineers are working on it. Plus, you need the right tariff. Commando-style charging is cut out of all of that. It works, but it's dumb. Now, most EVs are capable of charging if you provide a dumb supply, the so-called commando. You get a beefy supply direct from your consumer unit via a 32-amp or a 16-amp wall connector. After all, what we call chargers are actually just stabilised power supplies. Who needs a charger? Yes, well, you might get it working, but that's all it does. Well, finally, tip number 1, the 5th way your charger can become a bad investment has nothing to do with the charger itself. It's about how you use it. Your daily habits can quietly damage your EV's most expensive part. That's your battery. The biggest mistake is treating your EV like a smartphone, plugging it in to charge 100% every single night. Now, while seeing a full battery satisfying, routinely charging a typical EV battery to 100% and letting it sit there for hours causes stress and accelerates its aging process. Think, how long does your average smartphone last when you do that? If you're lucky, most of them last 3 or 4 years, and most of the smartphones are swapped out not for the better technology, but because the battery life drops to an unacceptable level. Now, you don't want to do that with an EV battery. Just because you have a charger does not mean you have to use it every night. Now, your EV battery is very, very unlikely to be sufficiently damaged in 3 years to be a major concern to you, and many people just don't care. They might have a 3-year lease and intend to hand it back. But most people would avoid doing anything that deliberately damages your battery. So all battery chemistries, that's NMC and LFP, have an ideal charging pattern, and that means not letting it regularly drop below about 20% state of charge, not regularly charging much above 80%. All batteries will last far longer at higher output following this guidance. Now, a very misunderstood exception is the LFP. Because of the way it charges, it becomes more and more difficult for the battery management system to calculate a totally accurate state of charge and therefore a range. No, this is not saying it has a low or bad state of charge, but it just doesn't know. So when it shows you a range, it's a guess. It really does like to be charged to 100% to reset everything once in a while. But the confusion lies in the fact that most EV manuals have to shrink all this down into a one-liner that people can easily follow. So you get a least bad option, and for most LFP it reads, charge to 100% at least once a week. Now, people often read that as charge to 100% every time you charge. The battery management system only needs recalibrating once a week, and some of them actually state once a month. So what harm does 100% charging every time do? Well, in simple terms, imagine a balloon. You pump it up just a little bit, then deflate it, and it returns almost to its original state. Pump it up fully, right to bursting point, then deflate it, and you get a flabby, wrinkled, limp balloon. This is in effect what happens to your battery. Charge it up to 70–80% and it's under minimal stress and it returns pretty much to its former state. Charged right up to 100% and then held there, sometimes for days on end, does damage and the battery never returns to its original state. That means less range and a lower resale value if you decide to sell your car. Now, the solution is to adopt some battery-friendly habits, and it's super easy. For your daily driving, just set your car's charge limit to 80%. That's it. That's plenty of range for most people, and it's much healthier for the battery. Now, if you have a home charger, when it gets down to about 20%, plug it in that night and return it overnight to 80%. Save the 100% charges for when you're actually about to hit the road for a long road trip. Use your home charger for the vast majority of your needs, but usually, for the average driver, it will only need charging back up to 80% once or twice a week. And please don't worry about using ultra-rapid chargers. Your EV has a BMS that has one job, that is to protect your battery from damage. It is your knight in shining armour. Now, home chargers should be one of the best perks of owning an EV. If you avoid these traps, these mistakes, you're not just buying a gadget, you're making a smart, safe and cost-effective investment that will make your life easier for years. Now, if this video has helped you out, do me a favour, just hit that like button, makes a huge difference. And more practical EV tips, just like this one, make sure you're subscribed. Now, I do want to hear from you. Just drop me a comment down below and let me know what's the one question you still have about home EV charging. I'll do my best to answer as many as I can. If we get a lot of questions on the same subject, I'll make a fresh video. Thanks very much for watching. I'm Dave.